Hi, Neil.
G'day.
G'day.
You haven't
Canadians say
whinging
g'day.
yet? Sorry?
Do Canadians say g'day?
Well, you watch too many Australian shows? Yeah. Or it could be, you know,
I think actually Canadians do say g'day. I was in Canada not so long ago. They certainly say g'day to Australians.
yeah, whatever. Because the traditional greeting in Canada this time of year is cold enough for you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
Ah,
sure.
okay.
It's fairly warm in Sydney.
Yeah. Well, I've got some friends heading down there in a couple of days.
How's everyone?
Well, good, thanks.
Hello, Nikki.
I'm sorry for being AWOL. I've been a bit under
Busy?
the cosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hope I know Sangshan can never join us because his time zone. So hopefully that this discussion thread help us continue some of the conversation outside of this meeting window.
Who reads his blog?
I do.
It's, I mean, that the previous one about uh verification versus a proxy for verification, and how I think like our whole economy is built on this, you know, Gartnerization proxy, just useless analysis, big data. My motto is big data equals bad data. So
There's a bad news. This it seems that big data is going bigger. Uh, we've heard about all the early discussions on big data, and people are talking about history, or we will call provenance of big data. So you will have actually data, but also version data. So there's a history of it. So another dimension is dramatically bigger than it used to be.
yeah, I mean, distributed provenance data is good. Centralized provenance data bad.
Yeah.
Which is why the project I'm working on at Diff is doing a travel profile that sits on your wallet, not on someone's server. And in fact, the whole industry has a vested interest in going to that model because they don't want that personal data sitting on their server.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, the one of the fallacies about selective disclosure is all the use cases I've seen around selective disclosure are for anonymous transactions. I just want to buy a drink. If you want personalized travel, you have to share personal data. So what's the answer to making sure that stays secure and is only used? You microshare it. It's on demand only.
My understanding, Neil, maybe I'm incorrect, very likely I am, but selective disclosure doesn't mean you don't share personal data. It just means you don't share or you don't have to share all personal data.
I think he was just saying
Well,
the use cases he sees tend to be a certain way, right, Neil?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
all
true.
the using what is it? There's a particular disclosure cryptographic thing. Uh, escapes me for the moment. That everybody's touting this. Well, we can tell you that you're over 18 without actually showing anything to you. Is
Zero
there's a
knowledge
blind
proof.
zero
Yeah.
knowledge proof. It's like, I'm
Yeah, zero
sorry.
knowledge is a very, misleading name for lay people. It
Yeah,
just means minimized information, but not zero.
yeah. Like I said, and the only thing
Yeah.
I've seen that makes sense is that you share stuff for transactions level of time. and you hand the requester, here's a token that you don't have to go through the handshake again. You have the right to come back and ask me for that information at any time, and you happen to have a profile server that sits up there in the cloud that can answer those tokens without you getting involved. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's my view. Like I use AI. I don't know. You guys try how hard you try to minimize private disclosure, but also at the moment, disclosures are not only I mean, even if you try your hardest, right, you can minimize it, but then once it's disclosed, it's out there. So the disclosure goes on and on. Eventually, it's essentially everything. I can't think of anything. I mean, there are few secrets you may want to keep, but most of them are out. So you might as well just surrender the way it is right now, right?
Yet at the same time, I can imagine a future where if you get any sort of data without provenance that shows that it came from its proper source, you just throw it away without even looking at it. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So in other words, anything that sort of escapes the bounds will then be discarded by default by this type of system.
Yeah.
Where you basically say, okay, we have gotten to the point where we have our data enough under control and we have norms around it that anything that doesn't fit these norms is obviously the work of a bad actor or a failing system, and therefore we're just going to discard it with before we even decrypt it. See
The
what I'm saying?
big masses of that data are commercially interesting, even if it's all full of errors. If you've got a big mass of data about 1 million people, you're trying to sell a product, you don't care that 100,000 of the data points are false. It's still very interesting commercial information.
Yeah, this
yes, but
assumes that you can get similar data better ways. Okay. We can't spend forever on the subject, but it's a good topic.
well, let's put it this way. The classic solution to that is you do a federated query. You don't collect bad information about people that's obsolete. You query each person, you send them a federated query, and you stitch your results back. This is the number one thing the
Exactly.
hospitality travel industry is finding. Most of the stuff they have about you is stale or obsolete, including your emails and your phone numbers. So they have a vested interest in going and getting a richer set of information directly from you and querying. I mean, do a federated query. Come and query my travel experience if you want.
Uh,
Um, but I'm not going to hand that to you to store on your server. You can come and ask me about
Now, Neil, the question I have is that I'll do a query like that, a pull a query, and you can tell me something about it. Then there's nothing prevent me from remembering it, right? And if I
it.
ask frequently enough, I will know everything I need to know.
Yes, that's true. And the only answer to that is policy and legislation. It's not a technical problem.
Yeah, yeah. So if you recall, like I don't know, people still try it. In Europe, they're talking about the right to be forgotten, which is very difficult to
Yeah.
do.
Well,
Well,
it just you need to make the business case that there's no point in you hanging on to information about me that's stale.
but there's another way you can do it as well. I can establish a sandbox on my system, and now I let the querier into that sandbox. They can do whatever they want. They can pretty much look at all of my data,
Mm.
and then I just look at their output and what's being sent back to them and verify that I want to send them that information at the end of that process. So they can
Uh,
discover whatever they want, but they get nothing back until I click, okay, I'm willing to send them this stuff because that's fine. I don't care how they got it. And then that entire execution is just erased forever. And what happened in that sandbox?
Yeah, another fascinating topic. And so maybe you should kick the meeting officially started. And then let me show you the antitrust policy and the trust of IP's IPR policy. Again, this IPR policy is very important to make sure that our specifications, when it's completed, is clean and has all the rights, everything. That's, both are very important. I'm sure that all of us have signed on to be a Trust of IP member. It's for individuals that is free, and please do so if you haven't done so already, so that we can actually use your contributions in the working group. Okay, so with that, maybe we'll open for the news to share. I have one on. This is not news, just repeating. I think they call Summit on Human Agency. It's a co-located event in Napa a week or so from now. Yeah, so a week plus a few days, I think, from now. Anyway, so anyone have others to share before we jump into the two agenda items here?
Well, we have the Quai Summit down in Los Angeles on March 5th at the Scale Conference, and it's only like $45 to attend.
Oh, what is it
Quai-
called?
It's the organization I work for, Quai, KWAII.ai.
Oh, I see. Okay. In LA?
I mean, yeah, in
Okay.
Pasadena. Hmm.
And it's March
5th.
5th. Okay, cool. Okay, look that up. Um, Maybe we will just not waste more time, and we can do jump on to the first one is a continuation on Notebook and OpenClaw, and maybe because the last time we talked a little bit about Notebook, which is this they call Reddit-like social media for agents. And OpenClaw is the open source part of it, which I think, but both are equally fascinating to me. So OpenClaw was uh, the claw means it was supposed to mean Claude AI. So it's a but Anthropic objected the name, so they changed it a little bit to avoid being sued. And but essentially, it's a open source agent software that behind the scene is linked to Anthropic's model. Anyhow, the both of out there, and you can easily use OpenClaw to sort of run your own agent AI, and then use that agent to talk in notebook. That's one way a lot of people are doing it. This is considered the first one, like open source all of a sudden becomes a real thing. Anybody can go try on your own laptop, and then you have agent under your control, and you can, experiment with stuff. Um, Let me see. So there's a lot of implications come up very quickly. One happened within literally seconds. So uh, the system requires a human behind it. And how do you verify the human? They use Twitter. And that's why we saw it last week, why the Twitter's there. I was like, well, why is need a Twitter there? And that's what they need for. So like in most accounts, like when you create an account, you provide email, they want an email verification, like you actually own the email account. And so in this case, they want a Twitter verification. So you need a Twitter handle, and then they'll send the manager will send a verification, and you reply, etc. Um, Similar to that, and so the Twitter account, because they have the cloud with a D in it, and Anthropic objected, so they changed. They released the old handle and created a new one, and within that there is a 10-second window apparently that it didn't close. So there's a lot of people jump on it, and someone got hold of the old handle, so that you lose the identity before your new one's being produced. And now immediately there's lots of fake ones created because of that. Oh, that gap in between. And
So
so
in
that's one.
transition, there was an identifier exploit, which lasts for 10 seconds or so, which people can use to create unlimited identities. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, no, no. Well, because the whole scheme is based on Twitter handle, and there is a official Twitter handle. I don't know, like there's a lot of social media do that. When you ask for something for approval, for example, the approval process goes through this particular handle. Now, this handle is essentially you voluntarily give up and somebody else hold it. They should have just keep it and say this one's obsolete. You never give up anything because otherwise somebody will get hold of it. Like a DNS attack, right? Exactly the same problem, and but this is by like literally one individual. So this individual was not very experienced, and he released the old handle a little bit too early. And also to me, like you should have never released it. You just say we're not going to use this anymore. Yeah, but anyhow, that creates a opening that a lot of fake ones showed up, and a lot of people don't know this enough to know for a while. So that's one example of identity being literally stolen or taken away. This happened in DNS a lot. If you let a old domain name expire, they got a hold of these fraudsters hold of own it now, and they can do whatever they want. In fact, there is a case where a domain like a CA's domain name gets released because the company went probably bankrupt. And in this case, not a fraudster, but a professor got hold of it, and he wanted to show you what can be done. And all of a sudden, you have this huge problem showing up. So that's a common thing from this kind of thing, and basically point to the fragility of identity system, right? So this is it's essentially saying there's so many things out there, and everything you do, we tie to like if email is your um, handle the root of your identity, like how secure that is that, right? Yeah, we do the numerous things we do that's based on email account and now based on social media accounts. So that's one that I just
I
thought
mean,
it's
ultimately, what Moltbook is pointing towards is a network of unidentified agents that are all swapping code that lets them better manipulate people. They just become all of these uncontrolled, unaligned Rizbots running around just, scamming people in every possible direction. That just is the way things are going at a million miles an hour.
yeah, that's pretty accurate. We don't know precisely what they are talking about. Some may be okay, some maybe not, but that's a higher level issue. So let me take note while you guys continue.
And then that's compounded by the fact that we have agents that are being explicitly um, unaligned against human interests by such as Elon Musk. So I'm going to put that in the comment right here, which
Yeah.
he's got this new AI companion, and wait till you check out the prompt, the hidden prompt for it.
So I would put that into more of a behavioral system. So if we think about two layers, right? One is who identifications, things like that in lower layer, and then in higher layer is even if you are purely like in Elon Musk case, he identified. He say this is, I think he used XAI or something, right? A Gronk.
Yep.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
he identifies it in that case, but the bottom is talk things and doesn't in this case doesn't matter. It's identification is not the issue. It's the behavior is actually acting. What kind of things say or what kind of things they're doing, and you identify the two of the things they're doing it. So maybe that would put into a different category. how should I put it?
Non-aligned behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's known as agentic misalignment is what Anthropic call it. They've done some really interesting work on it,
yeah.
published a while ago. Yeah.
So I adopt the terminology of like, the people say, especially academically, they say two words. One is alignment, it's more related to behavior. The other is called guardrail, it's more related to like a lower level constraints. Guardrails are usually outside of the like a LM driven behavior, but more in the overall system. Like so maybe we could adopt the same thing. This we'll call it guardrail. That sounds appropriate to everyone.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I define it. I
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
things like
So this would
guardrails been
just
written for
in
the
in
workflows,
like
not the agent.
yeah. So alignment says um, it's more of a behavioral thing than the infrastructure problem. So maybe that is also good too. Yeah.
Can I ask, just so that I'm really sure I understand properly, are you talking about human readable names and control and ownership of those that are then lost
Oh,
if you,
you mean the ID
yeah,
system?
this ID thing.
Yeah, yeah. If you go like Google search is a very famous case people talking about. It's a not complicated case. It's just a beginner's mistake. So, for instance, if there's a new app comes up and you sign up a new account, you typically most common ones you give out a either a phone number or email address. You say, "Here's me." And they will send an email to you or send a text message to you, and then you reply some way to confirm your ownership of it. And that's the beginning or the root of your identity in that new application. So in this case, they use Twitter. Essentially, you tweet to this particular account, say, "I need a new account in Notebook," right? And then they will text you a secret code and you plug in the code and there you go. You have established you as a human behind this particular bot within Modbot. Is that very clear?
Yeah, so I read this as a relationship between the human and the bot, and the
Exactly. It's
naming
how you
convention is
tight
dependent on
relationship
that.
between human and bot. This is, of course, very fragile, and the fragility showed up when Anthropic threatened to sue him for using Claude as a name, and he said, "Oh, okay." And he said, let me change it." So he want to remove the D probably, right? Like I see open claw as a claw, that's okay, but with the D is really close. So he has to go change his Twitter handle. He cannot really change it. He had to cancel one and create a new one. But he canceled first before creating it. And so once he canceled, this handle was essentially grabbed by somebody else who has who's who has a more intent.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing because I mean, I'm thinking about social anthropology here, and a couple of things come to mind. So, naming, the way we name each other varies across cultures, and there are various ways in which we do it. And there are some cultures where it's entirely dependent on relationships and kinship structures.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's something in that, because in kinship, there are different types of kinship, obviously, and there is a method of doing kinship notation that
Mm.
anthropologists use. And I just wonder if names are dependent on relationships with humans, there's a kind of kinship there. We might not want to think about it like that, but kind of in the
Yeah.
cyber-physical future, there is nevertheless, it's like there's a relationship in the sense that I've got a relationship with my kettle. It provides tea for
Yeah.
me and boils water. So I'm just wondering if kinship structures in anthropology can teach us something that would make these kind of naming conventions easy and obvious and yeah,
So yeah, kingship, I think like in the um, ancient books, they talk about I'm so and so, the son of so and so, right? So you
yeah,
relate
you
to.
have some cultures where the kinship structures and as a convention, as a kind of trust ritual, when you meet people, there are certain rituals that you go through in terms of those naming, um, like son of, son of, son of. But
Yeah, and also
I,
location, I think, like is they
yes,
say
and your
be
relationship with the natural world. So in Aboriginal tribes, for example, you have um like blood kinship, but you also have a kinship relationship with your
like
totem.
Da Vinci, I
Yeah,
guess Vinci is a village, right? So Da Vinci is the Niado from Vinci, is that right?
yeah.
Yeah, something
And
like
in
that.
some cultures, you have what you do as a job. So there are smiths and butchers and masons, and in Western culture, and then in some cultures, and there's a special name for it, which I'd have to check out for you. You're named according to where your order of birth. So even if there's a miscarriage and
Oh,
you're the first child to live, you are child number two or son number one, or you know, and when your child gets married, your name changes to granny number one, or revered mother number one. So different cultures have different naming conventions, and all of them are kind of linked to status and your role in society, and or linked to these kinship structures, which includes a filial and relationships, which are like we have one. We're not blood related or anything, but we haven't, nevertheless, whether we like it or not, we have a relationship with each other. So I
I,
could dig out some stuff from my social anthropology stuff.
yeah, Nikki, I'm still fundamentally confused about the problem you're trying to address. Uh,
Well, it's these naming conventions for the
right, but
human
naming conventions
names.
for what type of relationships between
So you
entities?
create an agent. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the problem, but you create an agent, and at the moment it's like a free ride. You could put any name in there, and you wouldn't necessarily have ownership or control of it, as in the case that Wen Jing describes.
right.
But if it were structured around something bounded, like a kinship relationship and linked to your name, then you would be able to control it. That's kind of what I thought might be
Yeah,
helpful.
okay.
As you were speaking there, Nikki, Haley put the same thing in the comments that I thought, which is that if you have PageRank, identity is sort of defined from the outside in. It's defined from the network back to the particular web page. If you have two web pages can have the same name, but different locations in the web, and the identities of those two pages, the same handle, let's say, the identities of those pages are different because the connection to the rest of the network is different. So if you have two people who are called John Smith, their identity is separate because this John Smith is connected differently into the social network than this John Smith. So identity there is being sort of defined from the outside in. The other, I was at the last IETF in Montreal, and there was a guy presented a paper on all the different ways that we do identity and names. He talked about cultures where babies are not named at all. for some period of time after their birth, and was also talking about the baby before it is born. The baby before it is born has an identity, and it has an identity that comes from the vectors of its parents and its grandparents.
Yeah.
So this outside in type of identity, I think, is really interesting because the uniqueness is there. You know, you don't when you put in PageRank a search, you don't end up on the like I put my bank in there. I start typing my bank's name. I don't end up in the wrong bank because of the way PageRank finds the bank. It finds it from the outside in. Different way of thinking about identity.
Yeah, I want just made a clarification that this we may be talking about two issues. One is the handle itself need to be somehow
Mm.
unique. So in Da Vinci's case, they just put on the name itself, so the handle is unique. The second one is related to supporting information. Like once you see it, then you go, most people don't, most of the scenarios, we don't go look for those, but you could look for uh, further into information about this identity. So that would be kinships, I was thinking about birth certificates, all of that would be records that we could be bonded with the handle. But the handle somehow still need to be unique. And in their case, they are not only they are losing the handle, and there's nothing also behind it either. I don't know whether I explained uh, 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 sorry clearly, but does that make sense? So one is like the unique handle itself. So in Twitter, it's just a one word, right? Um, and then behind the account, there's a whole bunch of information we could make it verifiable. So the two are tightly bounded. That I think that's what the author did. Like for example, the decentralized trust relate graph is working on. If you send in these, so that's kind of a kinship relationship, but in your friend relationship, you have a bunch of friends that you can come up with a graph that prove it's you. So that those are backing information, but in the end, the two are very much related. Um, a average person will still be fooled if we allow the handle to be the same. As in what what's happening in this particular case there. Um, uh,
Well, I mean, I always conceive of it that there's sort of a main agent role, which
mm,
then generates sort of sub-agents to go off and do different tasks. So you like my digital twin is my main external agent role system in the systems I've designed for Quai. And it can go and it has basically generates a different agent uh, in almost a different agent sub role for each interaction it has with different people because it wants to recall the particular past interactions it's had with them or whatever else. So,
yeah.
so you have to have identifiers for each one of those steps, and they're all linked together by a Merkle hash tree chain, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's the way that you go, and you should just have it be like a directory system where it's like, it's this, comma this, comma this, comma this, comma this is its name, and
Right.
and then there's a corresponding cryptographic identifier that goes with that.
Okay. So like a LinkedIn, if some people have very common name, then there are lots of them, and you will have to look into the rest of the information to determine which we're talking about.
Well, that's the thing is that you want to separate in the user interface. You want to have pet names where the user can assign very simple names to things, and they'll
Uh,
see that, but then they can just kind of hover over it and see the full name of what's actually being identified so they don't get phished.
right,
So
right, right.
it's yeah, I mean the idea of having common identifiers presenting an identifier which could be confused to another identifier just sounds like being a jerk. If you're going to
Yeah.
present something, oh, my name's Bob. Well, what's your last name, Bob? Bob. It's just Bob. Everybody calls me Bob. That guy's a jerk. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay, maybe we should spend more time. We still maybe have like 5 more minutes on behavior alignment issues, because that's much harder to solve.
well, it's an incentive. It's all about incentives. That's what it's about. And in the case of Musk, he's got he have the incentive to pull people into what Tristan Harris is calling the attachment economy, which
Yeah.
this and basically entrapping people in AI relationships and degrading their potential in the world in the process. And as that's why I don't think that fundamentally monolithic AI controlled by these companies is alignable because of the incentive incompatibilities.
Okay. Yeah. So a common one come up here is reputation, which is sort of it's kind of a incentive, and then I know about like audit or accountability, which is the after the fact as a incentive too, I guess, right?
Right? It's your reputation, what actual interactions you've had with people and records of those things,
Yeah,
the auditability of your own process, and
right.
um, the
So, like, how do
certification.
we deal with this psychological attachment? And I don't know, there's many words for it, but um, I really wanted you guys, like especially Nikki, your take on that, because that is the ultimate problem. Let's say we did all of this, but behavior can be like you can sort of regulate that sort of thing, right? Attachment, over the reliance. Like, what do you guys think?
So when we look to relationships and what constitutes a safe, healthy and happy relationship, like different
Yeah,
qualities of relationships, um, the most the kind of the most fundamental things what that determines that safety measure were dispute resolution, conflict management in the process. Um, the the other thing that I'm spending quite a lot of time thinking about at the moment, because I'm interested in governance at the moment, decentralized, operationalizing governance in the flows. And I think we've talked about this before. You
yeah,
send the policy alongside the data. And I'm also doing, as it happens, a piece of work for one of the energy regulators here in the UK. And um, so I'm starting to think about governance that, in a sense, we've got it wrong because it's trying to govern the inputs instead of governing the outcomes or the
the
out.
outcome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
outcome-based governance is, I think, where we need to go with it. And I've starting to put some thinking together, which this group or the governance group at Trust Over IP, I'd love their thoughts on. I've been looking into some of the stuff that the engineers do with policy languages like ODRL and governance as code. There's quite a few different kind of ways of making code and a governance and policy machine readable. But nearly all of them fall down when it gets to decentralized ecosystems and crossing jurisdictional or sectoral boundaries. So, I think,
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with policy languages. I used to work in that area. They're usually used by like either management kind of a software, like um, HR, etc., right? But also in networking rules within network systems, people write a bunch of rules to filter who's allowed, who's not, and that sort of thing. Um, but how do you rule behavior? It's really difficult because most of the languages say something about the uh, um, the procedural things rather than we consider like human consider behavior. You can say a word in, or a sentence in a slightly different tone, and how do you say something like that?
Mm. Well, we've talked about, I mean, Steve raised incentives. Obviously, they're fundamental, but I wonder about the sticks as well as the carrots.
Mm,
And when there's a problem, the sticks tend to pop out into the real world in terms of sanctions or fines or penalties. But I'm wondering, I'm reminded of, wasn't there a very famous psychology experiment where people were in a room and um, there was kind of subjects that they were torturing and they had control of an electric current that they could electrocute some of the people in the room and really like awful thing. We learned some awful things about human beings in that process. But and you can get these kind of collars for pets, can't you? That if they go outside a certain zone, they get a shock and that. So I wonder if there's a kind of pet collar equivalent for agents that they 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 do something or they go outside, their behavior goes outside the zone of control or what's acceptable. And so electrocute them. I don't know what the
I mean,
agent equivalent of electrocution is, but
Or take away their energy.
isn't
yeah,
that just
well,
negative
or put
reputation?
them
Taking
in
away their
the
energy
fridge
is
for
the
a bit.
equivalent. I don't know how you do it though.
Yeah,
But
they
isn't that
can't
zap
act
just
for a little
negative
while.
reputation? I'm confused. Aren't we
I,
talking
I
about
saw
negative?
something, Nick Bosnicki and Neil maybe saying something similar, which is a third party, because you have to do dispute resolution. You can need to introduce a third party, is that right?
Well,
You can also have the anarchy among nations type of approach to governance. So in particularly European history, we built all these rule sets, all these sets of norms, Hanseatic League, companies, all those different things. But even before then, there was a type of governance which was the kind of anarchy among nations idea. I think if we've got AIs that are exploring the whole possible space of what an AI can be, then it's I've lost a word. It's parsimonious or something to assume that every single AI that can exist might exist. And so you've got an anarchy among nations type of governance problem. It's not a contractual governance problem. It's sort of from before that. That's the
But
way I'm going on.
can't these agents negotiate their own contracts, enforce their
They
own
they can.
and essentially outcompete this anarchistic model by cooperating and sticking with
Yes.
their cooperations and demonstrating that they've done so. I mean, in other words, by putting constraints on myself that I can demonstrate to you that I will not hurt you in X, Y, Z and other ways, I am demonstrating more and more reasons for you to trust me. So I'm very likely to put
Mm.
those constraints on myself if I
Yes.
think you're a
And
valuable
that's
resource.
And that's exactly, what happened. Like the Hanseatic League emerged and the company idea emerged and all of those norms emerged, but they emerged from the pre-existing circumstance. And like you say, those cooperative structures outcompeted the anarchy among agents, let's say, that they were up against.
Do
I'd
you
love
guys
to.
think
I feel
one
like
of the
I,
problems is that these agents don't have social norms in the way that human beings do? I mean, social
yeah,
norms are broken down in social media. That's why we have such a sickness in social media. But so
Yeah.
when I'm
Yeah.
thinking about this before, it's more to do with the kind of context engineering and the background work to give them some norms, some social norms.
Yeah, I think it's redundant between an ongoing learning of social norms through a generative process and actually having written constraints, fiduciary duties, code constraints, guide rails, behavior guidelines. It's all these different things working together because redundancy, redundancy, redundancy. Because you want to, and when there's a failure, you want to contain the blast radius by everyone sort of looking at each other and being suspicious so they don't pass on bad data, which is malevolent or whatever.
Okay, so here maybe I'm just catching this. So this, I think, what we're referring to norms in would be like they call alignment, which is really train the AI model to have more likely to follow certain norms. And so that's alignment related issue. While restrictions say, well, we want to just in case you didn't follow the norm, what we do, and that will be guardrails. So this maybe
It's
that was
really
a
three things. It's the training of the weights in the
yeah
model, okay. Then
yeah
it's the hidden context prompting, okay,
hmm
which is, and then the guardrails in the code, the work flow that contains the agent uh, are the third layer. So you have to have all three layers fail, and this is what I call, the triad in my taxonomy, that all three
right.
components have to fail in order for there to be a failure of the system.
Okay, so um, the model themselves is how precisely trained, and then prompts. And then I guess this is the outside
Yeah, outside
constraint.
guardrails in deterministic code.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's quite accurate with today's system. Look like that.
Right. So I always wonder why we don't describe them as such. That's kind of my main beef. So
Yeah,
can
yeah.
we move on to your paper because we only have a couple minutes left, and I want to look at the introduction you wrote there.
Very good, very good. Thank you. So let me update this. And so the document, you will see some of the let me see. So the way to get there is you click the edit copy, and we currently only on introduction. Yeah, please, anybody read it, see how it covers what we're talking about.
Yeah, like I said, I think it identifies the gaps very, very well. Um, so if that's what it was primarily meant to do, it does that.
Yeah, it's primarily to argue, well, provide the background, like essentially saying what does the current system look like? And what are the problems, right? We touched on agent identity system a little bit. And then we talk about relate to that is authentication and then authorization. How do you delegate, etc. And there's a lot of them, like most of the issues come up very often. It's so-called confused deputy, which is the identity system. And prompt injection goes into the second level. If you get into prompt, you also get into that. And then I guess if you think about the three systems, right? The third system we didn't talk about is the LM model themselves. That you can get into the training data and you will control the LM behavior too. And then we come down to the third one is about data provenance or data authenticity. So this is the kind of data, because if you use a model today, usually you have search engines, you have RAG, databases you look into, and if any of that data gets wrong, you will be able to control the agent as well. So all those things are, I think, it's not very well served by today's system. And then we have a little bit of this is kind of a short, but essentially we want to conclude the need for a new trust layer, and that's what this this protocol is about. So that's the flow. So maybe relate to what we were talking about, it does position ourselves as part of the uh, uh, both the like outside constraint type of guardrail, but also into the prompts, the data we feed into the model. It doesn't address the model itself, but all the other two parts. Steve using your three uh, party description.
I mean, as long as it has the ability for those parties that do have guardrails or have embedded, the agent or the model in a particular way to communicate the certifications and identifiers that they have for those, higher level compositions. In other words, that's all I want to make sure is that the protocol does allow parties to identify themselves, with that
Yeah,
extremely that comma type of identity that I was
yeah.
talking about
So
before.
in agent in this first gap we are implementing definitely is the basis. So this allows the all the kind of identity discussion we're having. So you could say, "Hey, I'm the son of so and so," right? As a constraint to further identify yourself. You can say, "I'm from this particular place." You can say, "I have." I'm friend with Steve, and all of that could be constructed and build a richer and richer identity. Very hard for anyone trying to steal it from you or confuse.
So
So that,
essentially, you're creating a did document, which is infinitely expandable to, list all the different things and all the different,
yeah,
interweavings
yeah.
of.
It's a combination of a did document which you control yourself, but also people call credentials or other information that your friend give to you. But you can prove your this
But you
true
can put
friend
that right
identity.
in the did document too, those links to those other credentials, correct?
You could, you don't necessarily have to because those becomes private information. So you could save it decentralized way in your own place, and you can still prove it when necessary.
Right. When someone zero knowledge proofs you, right?
You could, yeah, yeah. So once you get a proof like that, you can hold to it, and when it's needed, you can use it for that information.
Right.
So
You could
those
you could
credentials,
correlate the things when you want to, but keep them uncorrelated as the base thing.
right? You don't have to put that information into one big public database. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Um, and so that's the identity piece. Then the authentication and delegated authorization is really the like most important part of this is to replace OAuth with a new kind of authorization scheme. We no longer use tokens. Tokens can be stolen easily. Those are bearer tokens. So once whoever has it can pretend to be you. And that's very, very widely deployed today and is, I think, a root of many, many problems. And so this section you can see is quite long because it go over, I don't know, seven, eight of these issues in this bullet list right here. And you would see in OpenClaw case, where it's mostly confused deputy prompt injection token leak. We didn't get into this, but they got very quickly hacked very quickly. In 2 weeks, I think they were hacked, and large amount of these so-called agents. There are about 2 million last week. So I don't know how many today. This is a viral phenomenon. So there's a huge number of agents, but they were hacked and large number of them were controlled by other parties, and that's essentially token leak or yeah, it's token problems. And problem injection gets into behavior part now. So now we have once you can sort of get into the system prompt itself, you really can have very good control of the agent. So that's all of those are in gap numbers two And the three goes a little deeper of other type of information. So this will be information whether you go to a search engine, right? The agent go look for uh, current information by searching, and if that channel, then information channel is compromised, so we then look into how do you identify the data authenticity part of it, and so that's and also like between agents, if one agent is controlling another, how do you identify the between the agents and make sure their authorization is clear? So those are longer term history and scale comes into play in this the third one. It's more
I
complex.
think your sentence here, multi-hop workflows cannot build durable provenance chains, is just nails it.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah. We're trying to get to that so that the three are distinct and people can relate to what the problem is. So,
Except there is a human model for that. It's called a supply chain,
yeah.
right?
So the provenance I didn't use. I'm not sure. Maybe somewhere I think I used supply chain as well. But the provenance basically says about supply chain.
Yeah, and
But you
let's
say
put it this
borrow
way.
solutions from there.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's put it this way. You know John Phillips,
yeah.
friends from SASU down in Australia. Well, he's on a UN task force exactly on this topic.
Hmm.
So identity and trust, trust credentials flowing through the system, and the ability to have documents that act like paper, in that there's only one copy that can be written to at any one time. So
Very good. Um, we have 3 more minutes.
Yeah, we're not talking about solutions up here. I mean, I got a lot of solutions through Nanda and whatever else that I want to bring into eventually and refine. Um, but yeah, we're just talking about the basic issues now. So
Yeah, for introduction, there is a little bit of a solution in kind of a hint of the solution anyway. On this section, how the because this is called TSP enabled agent, so you know exactly where they go. And so this is just suggesting or hinting what the solution ought to be, and then we'll go into the actual spec, which details of how that works.
the actual spec will be the particular implementation of this for agents on your previous white paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So this will be a particular implementation, and we can see how, we can, most of the time we'll say, well, does this solution actually address the problem? And whether there are alternatives, whether this is the ideal kind of abstraction layer in this, much detail, how constrained we want to be or how general we want to be. Those are the details we need to get onto. But the basic framework, I think, from this introduction, you should be able to see it. If you are already familiar with trust over IP and especially TSP, the kind of decentralized identifiers, etc., then this will come together naturally. But I'm hoping like the details won't be too difficult because we have most of the building blocks already. We're just specifying, how tightly we want that to be, right? And there's some of those I think is worth debating about it. Okay, so if I could nudge everyone to spend some time read this, it's not that long. So and then we maybe leave it for another week to review. Then we could move on to other sections. 'Cause I want to finish this quickly and get into coding and building things.
Regarding coding and building things, what platforms do you want to actually build on? Do you have anything in mind?
Yeah, so all the TSP code currently is open source. sorry, Open Wallet. So if you search for Open Wallet TSP, it shows up. It's not one repo. This is the sort of the first repo. There are a bunch of others, but if you get into it, you will see the others as well. And so this is where we've been building up the SDK for the TSP. Now this is not alone. So we use, for example, today both the did web VH. I think the this is a separate project, and yeah, so here is the didware VH, for example. You will see the code for that. It's a different project. And then like in Carry, we also borrow, let's see, Caesar. We implemented Caesar code here, but there's a separate Caesar library from Carry. There's a library for ACDC also from Carry. And I'm just looking at how the
But all this
TSP
stuff is
itself.
in Rust. So basically, if I know some good Rust developers, I should try and get them to join the group.
Absolutely. We're trying to do as much as possible in Rust. Occasionally, we will have to get a library just to, get along for a little while, but eventually we'd like to make it all Rust-based or majority Rust-based. Yeah. That's the project that I'm working on. I'm aware of other projects other people are working on as well, but maybe we can address this in the next meeting a little bit more detail and do a little bit of demo, etc. as well.
So do you want feedback in GitHub as issues, discussions? How do you want to do that?
Yeah, there were some broken links.
Oh, please do. Yeah, I'm trying to. So I think that's the best. If you want to comment on this, is the code. This is the specification that we were talking about both discussions. We should address discussions. I'm sorry, but these discussions are getting really good. So maybe this is a better way of do our discussions because we lose a lot of the context in this one-shot thing. But this leaves us, please read both Joe's and Sankashan's comment on both cases. Steve, I know you've been asking what is an agent. I think this is a great thread. I would say. This way is one way to get onto this, and then issues is another way. If you don't want to get into editor yourself and doing this.
Okay, discussion tab in GitHub. Got it.
Yeah, discussion tab for free flow discussions. Issues are very specific. Say here is one problem. So if very general, use discussions. If you know specifically that paragraph, I would like to change or add new ideas, please use issues. So either way, so yeah, in discussions we can transfer them into issues eventually.
Careful what you ask for.
I know. But hopefully once we have a structure working, there are other people can jump in and contribute to it too. So hopefully that's will work out good. Yeah. Thank you. Let's have the problems first. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for staying on for another 4 minutes. And then, like I said, we probably should do one more round of review for the introductions. You've missed anything, and then we hopefully can get on to other sections. We do have
Thanks, Benji.
a few open thread. We're waiting for Nikki, Eric, and others to help us lead it. But yeah, those are more. There's more to do there. The behavior discussion is interesting. So if we can stay on that for longer, I think it will get really creative ideas out of that. Thank you so much. thanks, Nikki, for coming back to us.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry I abandoned you. I just and I will try and apply my mind and think carefully, but as you all know, when it comes to the coding, I can be a tester and ask dumb questions, but that's as
Yeah.
far as it goes, guys.
We have Joe is also into that. So and Sankashan is saying a lot of great things in that thread. Please read the discussion section.
I will. I'll
Yeah,
go
and
into
read his
it.
blog too. It is
I
fantastic.
know he's phenomenal, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
on
yeah,
fire at the moment. Oh my
Hmm.
yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
I want some of whatever he's had.
Great. Well, thank you all, and we'll end the meeting here. But please do follow up on the I think discussion or Discord.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank
cheers.
you.
And it
Good.
looks great, Wenjing. I mean, it looks like the discussions we were having last time I was in the group, you've basically structured into a paper, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So,
brilliant to see it
yeah,
moving forward and
yeah.
constrained. You know, I tend to go off, oh, what about kinship or what about this? But no, let's get it nice and
Interesting.
clear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hi, Haley. Are you attending first time?
I've been to a few. I went to, let's see, 2 weeks ago when it was canceled. I didn't get the memo, so I got to meet a couple people then.
Okay.
And then I've been watching for last week as well. So
Okay. Just say welcome and please, if this is the kind of thing you like, please, follow up. I hope I give you enough pointers that you can follow up, and
yeah,
hope to see you more often.
thank you. Yeah, we're building a reputation system on our blockchain product and our project, and,
Beautiful.
and so I'm leading that, and this is extremely helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome again. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye,
All right, let's
guys.
stop here and hope to see you all next week. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.
See
Bye.
you guys. Bye bye.